We all know the feeling of resentment since we all grow up and live in society. Children can experience resentment for a reason or without one. They get offended at their parents for not buying them candy or not allowing them to watch cartoons, at their friends for not inviting them to their birthday party or talking to someone else, and even at kids they don't know in the playground. That's kids. But the whole dilemma is that many adults often behave like these kids. A legitimate question arises: why do we get offended, and how appropriate is resentment when you're an adult? Let's get to the bottom of it. Resentment is a whole cocktail of emotions: disappointment, anger, fear, and annoyance. And there is still no clear understanding of what to do about it. Some say that it's normal to get offended, so you should express this emotion as fully and powerfully as possible. Sounds sensible, because emotions need to be and should be expressed and talked about. There is one small but. However, a powerful, explosive reaction might lead you to losing relationships that are important to you. Therefore, before letting loose to your offender and causing them all sorts of evils, ask yourself the question: do you want to be right or get along with this person? Act depending on your answer. Others recommend just letting it go. Don't get upset or offended, just let it go and you'll immediately feel better. They're not worth it. Have you ever heard this kind of advice? I think you have. From the outside, it might sound like the sensible thing to do and the optimist's life motto. If you think about it though, this advice calls on you to suppress your emotions, stamp them down as deep as possible, and just suck it up. Is that healthy? It's nothing of the sort, so let's go further. There is one more option: to accept your state, understand the roots of resentment, and rid yourself of it without suppressing it. Now that's already looking like a good plan. How can we put it into motion? Let's find out. So why does resentment arise? The main reason is erroneous expectations and their confrontation with reality. To put things more simply, this is when your expectations go unjustified and crash against the harsh reality. Here's how it works. You have expectations or ideas about a certain person, usually someone close to you, a parent, partner, or friend. There are the facts about this person or their real actions. You then start to analyze these actions and compare them with your expectations. There are your responses to this: thoughts, feelings, actions, and attitudes. Let's look at a specific example. Imagine that you get home from work late in the evening, very tired and hungry. Of course, you expect that your partner, who arrived earlier than you, will make dinner and take care of you. This is exactly what you would do. But on arriving home, you see that the fridge is empty, the house is a mess, and your partner is busy with a very important task: getting through another level on Warface. Clearly, you didn't expect this, so there is a storm of emotions inside you, from anger to disappointment. In other words, your expectations in relation to your partner and the facts didn't correspond in reality, which led to resentment arising. Why do we get offended? Despite the fact that resentment destroys both us and the people close to us, we continue to get offended. Why? In a certain sense, this is about benefit. Yes, you heard that right. You get offended because it might be beneficial to you. Do you find that hard to believe? Ask yourself the following questions. What does resentment enable me to do or not do? What does resentment enable me to get from someone else? In fact, resentment can help you with a lot. It can give us the opportunity to shift responsibility onto someone else when you yourself are over-responsible and are tired of this. Make the other person feel guilty, thus helping us to get a result without asking. Draw attention to us when we really want this, but don't know how to do it in a healthy way. If you do this constantly though, will you be happy? And will you maintain your relationships with the people who are dear to you? You already know the answer. We're coming to the most interesting part: how to rid ourselves of resentment. Firstly, acknowledge that you feel like an offended child and don't be afraid of seeming weak or vulnerable. This is fine. There's a little child inside of you who is responsible for your emotional sphere. They can be scared, sad, offended and upset, angry and hateful. This is all about you, and it's fine. Every emotion is an alarm that something in your life isn't going right, and it's time to pay attention to this. There is nothing shameful about asking yourself the questions. What is happening to me now? Why am I experiencing this particular feeling? And who is this feeling addressed at? Be honest with yourself. Secondly, try to find the pattern behind your resentment. At first glance, there might not be any, but if you start to keep a personal diary where you write down everything that offends you, then you'll soon find the link between these things. For example, it might concern specific people or situations, conversation topics, and so on. Analyze everything that bothers you and gives rise to resentment. Thirdly, if you can't change the situation, then change your attitude towards it and your perception. Look at what exactly it is that offends you in the other person's words and actions. Does this apply to you when it comes to insults and bullying? What's stopping you from telling the other person about your expectations? If there's an opportunity to tell the other person about your resentment, then do it with a me message. That is, by emphasizing your worries and feelings and not by accusing and belittling your offender. I'm upset that I get annoyed when, I'm afraid that, and so on. In addition, the letter technique might help. The idea here is to write a letter to your offender. However, you don't send it, but destroy it by burning, ripping up, or burying it. Everything depends on the specific situation. But remember that it's not that they are offending you, but that you get offended. It's your choice to sink into resentment or not. In fact, there are plenty of options for how to deal with resentment. If it's hard to do it on your own, then you can always seek help from a professional who will make an individual plan of action together with you. You see, by ridding ourselves of resentment, we make our lives fuller and more positive.